Cebu City, officially known as the City of Cebu or in Cebuano, Doc Bayan, Sa Sugbo, is a highly urbanized city in the central Visayas region of the Philippines and capital of the Cebu province. Also the most populous in the Visayas. Cebu also called as follows: Queen City of the South, oldest city in the Philippines, first capital of the Philippines, and creative capital of the Philippines. The name, Cebu, came from the old Cebuano word Cebu or Cebu, means trade, a shortened form of Sinabuayong Hingpit, in English, the place for trading. It was originally applied to the harbors of the town of Sugbo, the ancient name for Cebu City. Sugbo or Sugbo, in turn, was derived from the old Cebuano term for scorched earth, or great fire. Before the arrival of the Spaniards, Cebu City was part of the island Rahanate and trade center of Palua Kong Diang, or Kangdaya, literally, the islands which belong to Baya, now better known as the Rahanate of Cebu. It was founded by a prince of the Hindu Chola dynasty of Sumatra, the half Malay and half Tamil, Sri Lume. The name Sugbo, shortened form of Kong Sri Lumeang Sugbo, literally, that of Sri Lume's Great Fire, refers to Sri Lume's scorched earth tactics against Muslim pirates or Moro raiders, or the Magalos. The capital of the Cebu Rahanate was called Singhapala, on what is now modern-day northern Cebu City. On April 7, 1521, Portuguese explorer at the service of the Spanish crown and leader of the first expedition to circumnavigate the world, Ferdinand Magellan, landed in Cebu. He was welcomed by Raja Homaban, also known as Sri Homaban, or Raja Homabara, the grandson of Sri Lume, together with his wife and about 700 native islanders. Magellan, however, was killed in the Battle of Mactan. The Battle of Mactan was a fierce clash fought in the archipelago of the Philippines, on April 27, 1521. The warriors of Lapu-lapu, one of the datus of Mactan, overpowered and defeated a Spanish force fighting for Raja Homaban of Cebu. The remaining members of Ferdinand Magellan expedition left Cebu. Soon after, several of them were poisoned by Raja Homaban, who was fearful of foreign occupation. The last ruler of Sugbo, prior to Spanish colonization, was Raja Homaban's nephew, Raja Tupas. On February 13, 1565, Spanish conquistadors led by Miguel López de Legazpi, together with Augustinian friars, whose prior was Andrés de Urdaneta, arrived in Samar, taking possession of the island thereafter. They Christianized some natives and Spanish remnants in Cebu. Afterwards, the expedition visited Leyte, Cabalian, Mazaua, Camiguin and Bohol, where the famous Sandugo or Blood Compact was performed between López de Legazpi and Datu Sikatuna, the chieftain of Bohol, on March 16, 1565. The Spanish arrived in Cebu on April 15, 1565. They then attempted to parley with the local ruler, Raja Tupas, but found that he and the local population had abandoned the town. Raja Tupas presented himself at their camp on May 8, feast of the apparition of Saint Michael the Archangel, when the island was taken possession of on behalf of the Spanish king. The Treaty of Cebu was formalized on July 3, 1565. Miguel López de Legazpi named the new city, Villa de San Miguel de Cebu, later renamed Ciudad del Santísimo Nombre de Jesús. In 1567, the Cebu garrison was reinforced with the arrival of 2,100 soldiers from New Spain, known today as Mexico. The growing colony was then fortified by Fort San Pedro. By 1569, the Spanish settlement in Cebu had become important as a safe port for ships from Mexico, and as a jumping-off point for further exploration of the archipelago. Small expeditions led by Juan de Salcedo went to Mindoro and Luzon, where he and Martín de Goiti played a leading role in the subjugation of the kingdoms of Tundan and Saludong in 1570. 1 year later, Miguel López de Legazpi departed Cebu to discuss a peace pact with the defeated Rajas. An agreement between the conquistadors and the Rajas to form a city council paved the way for the establishment of a new settlement and the construction of the Christian walled city of Intramuros, on the raised remains of Islamic Manila, then a vassal state of the Sultanate of Brunei. In 1571, the Spanish carried over infantry from Mexico to raise an army of Christian Visayan warriors from Cebu and Iloilo, as well as mercenaries from the Tagalog region, and assaulted the Sultanate of Brunei in what is known as the Castilian War. The war also started the Spanish-Moro Wars, waged between the Christian Visayans and Muslim Mindanao, wherein Moros burned towns and conducted slave raids in the Visayas Islands, and selling the slaves to the sultanates of the Malay archipelago, and the Visayans fought back by establishing Christian fort cities in Mindanao, cities such as Zamboanga City. On August 14, 1595, Pope Clement VIII created the Diocese of Cebu as a suffragan to the Archdiocese of Manila. On April 3, 1898, local revolutionaries led by the Negrents, Leon Quillet, rose up against the Spanish colonial authorities and took control of the urban center after 3 days of fighting. The uprising was only ended by the treacherous murder of Leon Quillet and the arrival of soldiers from Iloilo and Manila. On December 26, 1898, the Spanish governor, General Montero, evacuated his troops to Zamboanga, turning over government property to Pablo Mejia. The next day, a provincial government was formed under Luis Flores as president, General Juan Climaco as military chief of staff, and Julio Llorente as mayor. The signing of the Treaty of Paris, at the end of the Spanish-American War, provided for the cession of Cebu, along with the rest of the Philippine Islands to the United States. On February 21, 1899, 40 Marines landed on the shores of Cebu. The Cebu's transfer to the American government was signed by Luis Flores, although others, most notably General Arcadio Maxilom and Juan Climaco, offered resistance until 1901. Governor W. H. Taft visited Cebu on April 17, 1901, and appointed Julio Llorente as the first provincial governor. Juan Climaco was elected to that office in January 1904. With its city status granted by the King of Spain in 1594, invalidated by the change of colonial administration, in 1934 the neighboring municipalities of El Pardo, Mabalo, Talamban, Banilad, and San Nicolas were dissolved and merged to become the chartered city of Cebu on February 24, 1937. Along with the rest of the country, Cebu came under Japanese occupation during World War II. The Japanese encountered opposition from guerrillas and irregular forces, led by Colonel James Cushing and the Cebu Area Command. It was finally liberated with the Battle for Cebu City, in March and April 1945. The military general headquarters of the Philippine Commonwealth Army was stationed in Cebu City during World War II. And active from January 3, 1942, to June 30, 1946. The war virtually razed Cebu City to the ground. The city's central business district, which had been confined largely around the port and the coast in the pre-war years, had expanded inland. Colon Street, the oldest national road in the Philippines. Etymologically, the street was named after Italian explorer Christopher Columbus, whose Spanish name is Cristobal Colon. Inscriptions on the obelisk say, Colon Street, known also as Parian, is the oldest street in the Philippines. The Spaniards arrived in Cebu in 1565 and made the very popular Cebu Street, which was once a residential area in the pre-war years, became the center of a dense and compact area in downtown Cebu City, becoming home to many shopping and business activities, which included the city's most fashionable shops, restaurants, and movie houses. In 1962, construction of the Cebu City North Reclamation Area commenced, and finished in 1969, which expanded the port of Cebu and provided the city with more developable land close to the city center. During this time, Cebu had also become a prominent educational center for the Visayas and Mindanao regions, and new schools were established in Cebu's uptown areas, such as the Talamban campus of the University of San Carlos. The University of San Carlos, also referred to by its acronym USC, or colloquially shortened to San Carlos, is a private, Catholic, research, coeducational basic and higher education institution administered by the Philippine Southern Province of the Society of the Divine Word Missionaries in Cebu City, Philippines since 1935. Founded originally in 1595 as Colegio de San Ildefonso, it later became the Colegio Seminario de San Carlos in 1783 and finally obtained university charter in 1948. University of San Carlos claims, as the oldest educational institution, or school in Asia, has been a long-time subject of disputes with the University of Santo Tomas, which on the other hand claims to be the oldest university in Asia. Within the city, economic growth was observed in other areas as well, and much of the business activity shifted from the old and derelict downtown area to the more modern and more diverse business districts located in other areas of the city, including areas around Fuente Osmeña, colloquially known as Uptown Cebu, the Cebu Business Park, and the Cebu IT Park, among other areas. To the northeast of the city is Mandaue City, and the town of Consolacion. To the west is Toledo City, and the towns of Balamban and Asturias. To the south is Talisay City, and the town of Minglanilla. Across Mactan Strait to the east is Mactan Island, where Lapu-lapu is located. Further east across the Cebu Strait is the island of Bohol. The city comprises 80 barangays. These are grouped into 2 congressional districts, with 46 barangays in the northern district and 34 in the southern district. Cebu City is a significant cultural center in the Philippines. The imprint of Spanish and Roman Catholic culture is evident. The city's most famous landmark is Magellan's Cross. This cross, now housed in a chapel, is reputed to have been erected by Ferdinand Magellan, named Fernão Magalhães, when he arrived in the Philippines in 1521. It was encased in hollow tindala wood in 1835 upon the order of the Augustinian Bishop Santos Gomez Marañon, to prevent devotees from taking it home ship by ship. Revered by Filipinos, the Magellan's Cross is a symbol of Christianity in the Philippines. A few steps away from Magellan's Cross is the Basilica Menor del Santo Niño, Church of the Holy Child. This is an Augustinian church elevated to the rank of basilica in 1965, during the 400th anniversary celebrations of Christianity in the Philippines, held in Cebu. The church, which was the first to be established in the islands, is built of hewn stone, and features the country's oldest relic, the figure of the Santo Niño de Cebu, or the Holy Child of Cebu, who is Jesus Christ as a child. This religious and cultural event is celebrated during the island's cultural festivities known as the Sinulog Festival. Held every third Sunday of January, it celebrates the festival of the Santo Niño, who was formerly considered to be the patron saint of Cebu. This patronage was later changed to that of Our Lady of Guadalupe, after it was realized that the Santo Niño could not be a patron saint because he was an image of Christ and not a saint. The Sinulog is a dance prayer ritual of pre-Hispanic indigenous origin. The dancer moves 2 steps forward and 1 step backward to the rhythmic sound of drums. This movement resembles somewhat the current sulog of the river. Thus, the Cebuanos called it Sinulog. When the Spaniards arrived in Cebu, the Italian chronicler Antonio Pigafetta, sailing under convoy with the Magellan expedition, offered a baptismal gift to Hara Amihan, wife of Raja Homaban. She was later named Juana, the figure of the Santo Niño. The natives also honored the Santo Niño de Cebu in their indigenous Sinulog ritual. This ritual was preserved but limited to honoring the Santo Niño. Once the Santo Niño church was built in the 16th century, the Christianized Austronesian natives started performing the Sinulog ritual in front of the church, the devotees offering candles and indigenous dancers shouting, "Viva Pit Señor." The Cebu Reggae Festival is a popular Filipino reggae and roots music festival. It now has become one of the Philippines' largest annual reggae festivals. The Cebu Pop Music Festival is an annual music festival, founded in 1980, showcasing Cebuano language pop songs. Cebu City is the home to the oldest surviving Catholic relic. The image of the Santo Niño is the oldest surviving Catholic religious relic in the country. The holy image was a gift of Ferdinand Magellan in 1521 to Hara Humame. In 1565, it was found in a burning hut by Juan Camus, one of the soldiers of Miguel López de Legazpi. However, it was later entrusted to the Augustinian missionaries, who until now are still the caretakers of the image. The oldest fort in the country is found in Cebu City. Fort San Pedro. This fort is the oldest of its kind in the Philippines. This historical landmark, the Grand Dame of Cebu City Heritage Sites. Fort San Pedro, both a garrison and fort, was built by Spanish and native Cebuano workers under the command of Miguel López de Legazpi. Additionally, Fort San Pedro, or the Fuerte de San Pedro, is the smallest but oldest triangular fort in the country. 2 sides of the fort are facing the sea. When it was still an active fort, cannons protected the 2 sides. On the other hand, a strong wooden fence protected the front side of the fort. Filipino revolutionaries took over the fort at the end of the 19th century. During World War II, the Americans used it as an army camp for their military troops. The Philippines had a Cebuano president, Sergio Osmeña Sr. Born in Cebu City on September 9, 1878, he was the 4th president of the Commonwealth of the Philippines. A second placer in the Philippine bar examination, President Osmeña also founded the Nacionalista Party. In addition to his political titles, he also founded El Nuevo Dia, a Cebu-based newspaper in the 1900s. The Cebu also called as with best pig. Cebu is almost synonymous with lechon, or roasted pig. Cebu lechon is indeed the best in the Philippines. The Cebuanos rice, usually, hang. This called puso. This authentically Cebu delight also rounds into our list of interesting facts about Cebu. Normally, if you have lechon, then it will never be complete without puso, or hanging rice on the side. Historians' documentation showed that the natives have already been using puso even before the Spanish arrival in the Philippines. Traditionally, puso was first used as a ritual object among the village farmers in Tap Tap, a mountain barangay of Cebu City. Now, this original Cebuano food is always a part of the menu wherever you dine in Cebu.